that forget to take their microphone off when they go into the can. Hey? Those like comedy outtakes. Good
Exactly.
good start to the live here.
Perfect start. And we're live.
Yeah.
Oh yes, that was great. We were just discussing how these new AirPods may not be all that noise cancelling on the microphone end, even though they're a little bit noise cancelling for us. So yes.
Yeah. So don't get too confident if you have these and say like, oh, it's noise canceling. It's great. I can go and do something else. Well, not better mute yourself, just in case.
Just in case. Just in case.
Yeah.
What's our PSA of the day?
Yes.
Awesome. Well, Jeff, how are you today?
I'm great. Good. I don't know. You always get after me for not being enthusiastic enough when we start these calls. So I'm fantastic.
Yes, that's more like it. So am I. So am I. And it's Wednesday. What does that mean, Jeff? What does that mean?
Where's our drum roll? There we go. Yeah. So what buyers want Wednesday? This is our theme that we've been running for the last month or so. On Wednesdays, we take a look at the last sort of week of buyer inquiry emails to share with you. So buyers are often, and investors are often sending us emails with some criteria and what exactly they're looking for, and we thought sharing them with the group here would be good in case there are sellers that have something that might match some of this criteria, or just general interest to see like what's the appetite out there, what are buyers really looking for. So so we figured we would start sharing that, and it seems to be having some positive reviews from the group. So we will keep going with that, and it's interesting every week too. Like when we look at it, it's I don't often see them in this formatted version until Wednesdays, so it's interesting.
Yeah, me too. Yeah, and we try and handpick some interesting stuff. So this isn't all the inquiries that come in. We just try and find a random mix to kind of just keep it interesting. But the important thing is that I like to see, at least, is how buyers specifically talk about that criteria. Even though sometimes you might give them a hard time about it, it's interesting seeing direct from the buyers what they're looking for, because this is kind of a window into the mind of a buyer. So that's why I like these.
All right.
Awesome.
So
well, with that, let's jump in and have a look at some.
Yeah, let's take a look here. Cool. Okay, so the very first buyer is looking for an annual net profit above 5 million with a 30% margin, no interest in whatever category it's in, and they're looking to scale and grow. Well, they are looking to scale and grow something pretty massive, it looks like.
You know why the industry or category is no?
Because it doesn't exist?
No, because it's hard to find. So they don't want to define it. They want 5 million of EBITDA at a 30% net margin. I think that's going to be interesting regardless of what the brand is. So they just want something big and profitable, and we'll figure it out if it's interesting or not. So you often see this with larger buyers. They just tell you what's important, and then everything else is like, just show me deals and we'll work on it. That's
if you hit all of these other points, then we can talk about whatever category it's in, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
But obviously this is somebody with deep pockets and big resources, I think.
Yeah, and also the other reason why a category might not be as important is that this is platform size. So they'd be looking for the first acquisition in any category anyway. So that's why the category wouldn't matter so much in this case. When they're smaller, we kind of give people a hard time, but this is specifically to larger buyers. This is just thought it'd be helpful to give some comparison there.
Got it. Cool. Okay. So the second buyer on the list here, looking for something in the 500,000 to $1 million in annual net profit, 20 to 25% margin in the healthcare and fitness, or I'll just highlight that row, healthcare and fitness. And more specifically looking for an SDE above 400,000 and with significant growth opportunity.
Mm-hmm.
Right. I almost think sometimes that like significant growth opportunity kind of goes without saying. Like,
yeah.
I don't know why you would want to buy something that did not have any opportunity to grow, but obviously they felt that was important to say. I guess yes,
in this space.
They might be looking at some that have, because I think last week we talked about some that might have been sort of maxed out what they can do in that category.
Yeah. Growth improves ROI, right? So the faster the business is growing, if they capture the deal at today's value and then it's growing, it'll shorten the ROI loop, make the return on investment larger, better.
Right.
There's also risk with fast growing because it could also go the other way. But for the most part, most of the buyers looking at this space, because Amazon itself is growing 20% year over year, although right now with COVID, I'm sure it's way up. But e-commerce is growing at such a fast clip. I think for the last 5 years running, it's one of the only categories that's been growing in double digits year over year. So it's the trend behind e-commerce huge. So these investors are wanting to ride that wave. But yeah, for the most part in this category, for sure, people are wanting growth. If you're not growing by 20%, you're actually flat. If the bulk of your revenues from Amazon, you're not doing more than 20% minimum, you're actually flat. It's not growing. So just for context.
All right. And yes, context always good. So next one we're looking at, again, just for the scope of these, 500,000 to $1 million, 25 to 30% in net profit margin, manufacturing industry, and no specific investment criteria. But I'm sure they want something with growth opportunity.
Yes, exactly. Well, actually, in this case, maybe not. Because if you're looking for manufacturing, what they might be wanting to do is vertically integrate. And if they haven't given us a little bit more, maybe we could have figured out. Because manufacturing might be they want a contract manufacturer because they produce supplements. So vertical integration improves margin. There's a lot of the family offices that are out there and larger companies have acquired for vertical integration. So you essentially buy your supply chain or you buy your distribution channels. So on the supply side, buying a manufacturer is the company that assembles, manufactures the product. So I was actually talking to a firm out of Brussels that had just acquired a manufacturer with 60 staff in China when we were talking to them last year. So vertical integration is very common. What I'd be asking these guys is, well, what manufacturer of what?
Yeah,
because if you just want a manufacturer, that's, but maybe they actually want specific things. But again, they just want manufacturers, and they've probably seen that we don't have a lot of manufacturers. So they're just like, hey, if you guys have any manufacturers, let us know.
All right. Okay, next person, 300,000 to 500,000 in annual net profit in a 30 plus profit margin, 30% plus. They are open to different categories. They want something priced around $1 million and SBA approved. All right. So they have a lot of company.
Yes, them and 10,000 other people. That $1 million range SBAable. Wow. I mean, you only need to put down, say, 200 grand, have good credit. Yeah, there's a lot of buyers in that range. That's probably the peak category for SBA buyers. There is thousands of them.
Yeah, but I would imagine some of the people that are in our group have something just like that. So
absolutely.
Yeah.
If you're US based, you've paid taxes for the past corporate taxes for the past couple of years, have clean books, so your entity is just this brand, just this business, there's a potential for you to be SBA pre-approved. We do pre-qualifications with our lender. And then, you could take advantage of that. It's a great way to sell a business.
All right, moving on down the list here, 300,000 to 500,000 in annual SDE, looking at 15 to 20% net margin. Again, somebody looking manufacturing, insurance, and financial service-based businesses or e-commerce. And what does he say here? SBA loan lending, unless the seller is willing to provide seller financing. If this doesn't work out, I'm looking for a business which is more than 5 years old and has revenues of $1 million or more. Okay.
Okay. This is an interesting one. What does that tell you?
Well, the manufacturing, insurance, and financial services was kind of interesting, but SBA loan, unless the seller is willing to provide seller financing, meaning they don't have a lot of capital to work with.
They don't
maybe
have a lot of cash. They don't have a lot of cash here, but they also don't know what they want.
Right.
So not only just any category, they're also open to different business models, which tells me they're way early in the process.
Early, or they want to buy a job.
Yeah, that's actually that could be a point too.
Buy something, like maybe because there might be lots of these people out there right now that like executives may have been made redundant through this COVID thing. So they might have some money, but obviously not enough to straight up purchase $1 million business. So they'd be looking for funding, but they would also step into a CEO role and buy a little bit of ROI and something they can sort of take and run with. So that's just, I don't know. That's a smart play, man. If you've got a little bit of money and you can buy something SBA eligible, or you can find somebody who will provide seller financing. I mean, it might work out for the seller too in that situation, but that's a pretty good way to think about how to, if any kind of corporate or executive level person or anybody, I guess, that's got some cash saved up and decent credit, can basically buy a job and grow it. I think that's a pretty smart play.
Yeah, absolutely. And yeah, I think you're right. I think a lot of people, even if they're not, say, losing their job, maybe they don't want to go into the office anymore. And maybe there's that kind of shift happening, right? Like, yeah, this thing could happen again, or maybe it's going to hang around longer. I don't want to be at risk. I don't want to put my family at risk. Maybe they've got elderly parents that they live with or something, and they don't want to put them at risk. And their job's a bit weird about them doing remote stuff. Or maybe they just kind of think, well, life's short. Why not speed up the semi-retirement process? So yeah, it's kind of interesting.
Yeah. Awesome. Okay. And the last one here, they are looking at under 300,000 in SDE, 15 to 20% net profit range. They say they're open to any category, and they're looking for a 10 to 15 month old account. So fairly young with good performance metrics, and the account needs to be part of the sale. Okay. So 10 to 15 months old. So yeah, they're looking for something fresh and new.
It could also be because that time frame opens up some categories. So over time, Amazon kind of grandfathers in accounts, right? So they might be wanting a specific access to a specific category. We've talked about the type of buyers that just buy accounts before. Maybe they're actually just really looking for the account, which is why anything is the category. They don't actually care. They just want a bit of age on it so that they can jump into the next category or launch something new. Or maybe they've had issues with their past account, which could be a bit of a concern here, because you could be tied into that. If the buyers had issues in the past, the transfer might not actually work. That's just one way to think about this. Obviously, the other way is they want a launch pad. They want something that's got a little bit of history, but not a lot. So that could be the main driver here too.
Yeah. Okay. Interesting. Well, that's the list for this week.
Yeah. We ripped through that pretty quick today.
Yeah. Well, I think the message is clear now that we've been sort of harping on some of these buyers to it's dry now. Like people put down any category. Like I never believe that when they say, "Oh, I'm open to any category." No, you're not. You just want to see a lot of deals, I think. But
for sure.
But
when we vet buyers, it might be helpful to kind of give a bit more insight what we do when we meet these buyers for the first time. We don't just take this criteria and say, "Oh, here's a business, go buy it." We actually meet with them in person if we can, back when we could, on the phone, on Zoom, whatever. Meet with them, get a sense of what they're actually doing, have they acquired before, what their capital structure looks like, what their needs and aspirations are, what their leverage is that they're bringing to the deal, as in distribution channels, experience, partnerships, etc. So we really get a handle on what the buyer type is like. And we have no problem with saying no to buyers too. Come back and see us when you're actually ready to go. If they don't have funding in place, go get that first. If you need to go get investors, go do that first, and then come back and see us. If you don't know the specific category you want, maybe go do some research, come back to us. We don't use our deals as training for buyers. So that's comforting if I'm selling my business, especially the size deals we're dealing with. We're not shopping your deal to buyers that don't exactly want that type of a deal, right? Because it's not good for anyone.
No. I think that's important to a lot of sellers, that I do get that as part of their sort of line of questioning to me is, how do you guys like shop the deal? Like, I don't want my personal information. I don't want my competitors to get wind that I'm selling. I don't want my employees to know that I'm selling, or even thinking about it just yet or whatever. And I think that's important to know, that we don't share information unless these buyers are serious and they've been vetted and they can actually write a check to cover the deal. If they can't prove any of that, and then they don't get to see privileged information about the business. They can see a teaser pack with private information sort of withheld, but it's important to know that this business isn't just listed for any buyer to come by and tire kick. That's not how it works with us. Yeah. Everything is protected until that buyer says, "I've got the money and I can actually write a check to buy this deal. I want to go under NDA and I want to see it." But then we know we're dealing with somebody that could actually close if the deal terms made sense. So yes, we only want to enter into negotiations and show people that private information and privileged information about the business if they meet certain criteria on our end.
Yeah. And this is one member actually multiple members of our team, but one specifically, Julie, runs this process. We brought her on specifically for this, to vet buyers, move them forward, get to know them, build the relationship with the buyers, to understand where they're really at. It takes a lot of time scheduling calls, following up, vetting them, spending half an hour to an hour on the phone. It takes a lot of time, right? I get why the vast majority of the industry doesn't want to do this, but for me, it's really important to know that those buyers can actually pull the trigger and they're worth actually following up with. I've had buyers before say to me, "Oh, can you send me a library of all of your SIMs," which confidential information memorandum, the actual deck we put together to sell business. And I just said, "No, we're not sharing that. We don't share our past decks with anyone." No. And his response, which might surprise you, is, "Oh, I have other sources to go to see all of those." And I thought, what? You and your friends are just sharing decks. You're never getting one of our decks again.
Yeah.
No, you're off the because we're not here to give benchmark data and things like that. Not quite blacklisted, but it's, in this specific case, it was like, no, we're not doing that. So
well, that's just it. Like you said, we're not in the business of training for new buyers or whatever. When we launch a business, a buyer is not our client. We represent the seller, and so we want to share seller information with people that can actually close the deal and have proven that they can do it. And they've proven that they can do it in the past. They've done it before, and they've got a good plan. And so that's good. Glad we've sort of covered that, because I know that's important to some of the sellers, a lot of the sellers. It should be important to everybody, I think.
Should be. It should be the most important thing, yes.
Yeah.
But cool. All right. Well, I think that's pretty much it for today. But how can people get in touch with us, Jeff?
Yeah, exactly. Sales at the FBAbroker.com. Best email to use. Come straight to me and just let me know what your plans are. If you're thinking about selling your business now, 2 years from now, you want to see what the market appetite might be like, see you get a value estimate for the brand, talk about options to increase the value of your business before you exit, any of those things, just drop me an email at sales at the FBAbroker.com. We'll schedule a time to have a chat and figure out what the options are.
Awesome. Cool. Well, hopefully that was helpful, everyone. We're going to go back and close some more 8-figure deals. Thanks, Jeff, for jumping on here. And we'll see everyone again tomorrow in the Facebook group, and then Friday for everyone else on FAQ Friday.
Indeed.
So we'll see you then.
Sounds good. Bye for now.
Have a good week. Bye.